Good afternoon. Good afternoon. It's always an honor, a privilege, and a pleasure to come before the WHPR, WHPS audience. We always like to start our show off with a mission statement from the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, founder of the UNIA ACL. We believe that this public utterance is the most righteous, forward-thinking, conscience-raising public utterance one individual can give to another. One God, one aim, one destiny. And this time we like to double it up with some scripture. James 4:7. Submit to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee. One God, one aim, one destiny. And we also like to thank Watkins Broadcasting Corporation. Our good brother R.J. Watkins, President, CEO, Chairman of the Board. Henry Tyler, Vice President and Program Director. R.J. Jr., firstborn. The rest of the blood family that makes up the next generation of leadership around here. And all of the hosts, community organizations, and individuals that make up this great Pointed production. This is a special report from X Marks the Spot. And before we go any further, we just want to thank several people for without their support, we would not be here. We got to thank the Vice President Program Director, a fellow veteran today, not just today, a fellow veteran that we're dealing with veteran issues today. We like to thank the Vice President, Henry Tyler. We also got to thank our good sister, Renee, stepping out on faith, because without her, we wouldn't be here. We like to thank Brother Rob Hibbert. We call him the mayor of Lafayette Towers, for bringing us a brother that's going to set fire. You need to get on your mobile device and punch up your cell phone and call 10 and tell them Jim Foster's in. We'll be hearing about the National Guard. Every week we have a show that has a beginning, a middle, and an ending, and a redeeming social value. This week, our redeeming social value is bottom line. This is our time, our rhyme, our reason. We're in our holy days. We're into our holy days. October 16, 1995, over 1 million men took a trip so our community would not have to slip. And we created a mandate. And we're now into the October 16th to January 1st. We also say sainthood for Dr. Malana Karanga for giving us the conceptualization of Kwanzaa that takes us to January 1st. So we're within our holy day time period. We're also excited because today is Armistice Day, November 11th, or as we say, 11/11. This is November 11, 11/11. And what we're doing is we're looking at the issue of one veteran, two struggles. We're talking about the African American presence in the U.S. military and also the African American presence in the African liberation struggle. And we're looking for a phone call. We're going to let it out right now. We're looking for a phone call from Molly Moo Ed Vaughn. He's supposed to call in 5 after. I think we're in that time period. We're going to look for his call in the next 5 minutes. And we're just going to have a lesson from Molly Moo, which in Kiswahili means the teacher. As we were talking to Jim Foster, one of the things we dealt with is the Langston Hughes Theater. Molly Moo Ed Vaughn owned the theater, the Langston Hughes. And one of the things that he's doing now, he is in Dothan, Alabama, where the cotton grows tall and the people say y'all. And he's not dropped his interest in the pursuit of cultural excellence. He's produced 5 plays. So we're waiting on this phone call. And while we're waiting on this phone call, we're going to move forward. When we look at the presence of African Americans in the U.S. military, we've divided it up in 3 time periods. The human rights struggle from the Revolutionary War to World War II. That's one time period. We're looking at the period from 1950 to 1975, which some of us served in Vietnam during that time period. That's the Korean War. Big ups to our most esteemed, respected elder, Clarence Harris, who served in the Korean War. We think of ancestors such as Reverend Hosea Williams from the SCLC and the Vietnam War. We consider that when the United States was actively involved in the struggle to maintain colonialism. The Korean War and the Vietnam War were struggles to maintain colonialism. It was not the human rights struggle that we saw from the Revolutionary War to World War II. Then we have the time period, the post 9/11 time period, the anti-terrorism effort, Afghanistan, which so many veterans are increasingly calling Forgotten Stan, Desert Storm, Iraq, Syria, the Cold War with Iran. And one of the things that those of us in the African-centered struggle, we're going to have to intensify our educational effort. We're talking about U.S. military involvement in the continent of Africa. President Obama had efforts. George W. Bush had efforts. They were more flirtations than what is going on now. There's a United States Africa Command, and they are actively engaged on the continent of Africa. And so many of us, we kind of left that alone when Obama was president. We remember he was criticized for, quote unquote, leading from behind in the struggle in Libya, the demise of Muammar Gaddafi, 2011, 2012. They blamed all that on Hillary Clinton, the U.S. portion on it. But we know that it was led by both France and Italy. They was making a play for the oil. And what they really did is they just splattered the situation. And now Libya is a point of production for the continuing enslavement of sub-Saharan Africans. So many of our people are in a new dreaded Middle Passage across the Mediterranean Sea. So many of them are at the bottom of the sea. So many of them have been trafficked. And the Europeans just got up on it in the last year or two because they've been invaded, if you use a term, with people that are even threatening to change the composition of the European continent. We can think of recently, October 4th, 2017, the death of Sergeant LaDavid Johnson, On October 4th, he was in a unit in Niger, not Nigeria, but Niger in the Sahel. His unit was overrun, 4 dead, 3 that died were captured immediately. And this is what has got blood in our eye, those of us veterans of African descent. Sergeant LaDavid Johnson was separated from his unit. He was not found until the next day. His body was so desecrated. And we're talking about 1 year ago, October 4th. His body was so desecrated that his wife and family was urged to have a closed casket. That came from the Department of Defense. And we're talking about adding insult to injury, that when President Trump called his widow, she felt disrespected. In the ride with her was her congressperson, Frederica Wilson, because she was a mentor to Sergeant LaDavid Johnson. She co-signed on the disrespect and the tone from President Trump. We know that this week we still got it going on, because how he disrespected 3 noted African-American women journalists. If he had the same tone with them that he had with Master Sergeant LaDavid Johnson's widow, we could understand where the congresswoman was coming from. She was verbally assaulted and lied on by Trump's chief of staff, John Kelly. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who we call Minnie Pearl. You can Google that and see from her attire why we call her Minnie Pearl. She insulted the sister, and it just went on. So this is another area that we have to consider. The post 9/11. And it's going to get hotter, sisters and brothers, brothers and sisters. It's going to get hotter because Al-Qaeda, Islamic State, and others, after they got pushed out of Iraq and Syria, they're in North Africa. The connection between Boko Haram in northern Nigeria, Al-Shabaab in Somalia and Kenya. We know the history of the Omar Bashir government in Sudan, particularly in the early 2000s of this century, with the Darfurian crises and what they did in terms of genocide against Darfur, the struggle that they had with the Sudanese People's Liberation Struggle in South Sudan, who subsequently have a country of their own, and they over there engaged in terrorism. The conflicts between the nomadic Muslims and the Christians in the Central Africa Republic. It's just a milieu of contradictions. It's a milieu of contradictions. So all of these issues are there. That is why today, on November 11th, we chose to do the special report. Now, one of the things that is happening today that we have to address, and we were looking to get our phone call, but things happen. Thank you, brother. There might be some confusion between. Thank you. You are so. That's why you was in the Air Force, Henry. That's why you was a blue boy. Blue man, excuse me. I beg my pardon. So we're going to move on. We were totally prepared to do this hour. At 3:30, we're looking for a phone call from our good brother, Elder Paul Taylor. He should definitely have no problems calling in because Chicago was stumping them Lions. So, Henry, your joke is more relevant today than it was before on why the young boy wanted to go with the Lions. because they was getting stumped in the first half before we left. Matter of fact, we got to get a taste of water because the Lions, oh, they miss big play Slay. But today is a day. 100 years ago today, what they call the Great War came to an end. Armistice. I believe it was around 11:05. They got the word. They signed a peace deal at 5 o'clock, and by 11 o'clock, it was over. It was called the Great War. Now, we don't believe that history exactly repeats itself, but being Garveyites and understanding and operating under the way of thinking of Garveyism, the science that we operate under has us believing in the cyclic nature of history. We believe in the cyclic nature of history. Hey, Jim, if we run you out of here, you can come on early, bro. If you got to go, we'll bring you up. We got a brother from the National Guard. He's scheduled to be with us from 3:45 to 4 o'clock, but we can shift around because, like we said, we were waiting on a phone call from Molly Muir Bond, which we may or may not get. But Elder Paul Taylor, you're in the bullpen, brother. Hey, Henry, that number 868-4336, that's still good? Well, that's the number we gave him. Today, 100 years ago today, we don't believe in history repeating itself, but we do believe in the cyclic nature of history. When we offer analysis from our point of view being Garveyites with our philosophy of Garveyism, we have to look at the 100-year period of what is known as the 20th century, from 1900 to 1999. And our analysis brings us to the point that it was completely, totally dominated by white supremacy. And the aftermath to the domination of white supremacy in the 20th century from 1900 to 1999 is that it was the bloodiest, deadliest 100-year time period that our planet has ever seen. Just statistics on World War I. Yes. Pot it up. Let's see what we got. Hello? Hello? Wasn't who we was thinking it was. The 20th century, from 1900 to 1999, the bloodiest, deadliest 100-year time period our planet has ever experienced. Completely we charge that it's because of white supremacy. Here's the first statistic. World War I. 10 million civilian deaths. 10 million military casualties. The carnage also resulted in a complete breakdown of the public health care system, that what it was in the 1910s. A byproduct of World War I. A worldwide influenza pandemic. It is estimated between 50 and 100 million people died from 1918 through 1919 flu season. When you add the death total of World War II, well over 100 million people. Easily 100 million people. The contradiction at the end of World War I was the Treaty of Versailles that put a tremendous burden on Germany, the German people, that they had to pay reparations to the degree. That plus the depression that came on the entire planet brought the rise of fascism. The solution that the victors posed was the League of Nations. We state clearly that they tried to put together a deal because Woodrow Wilson, the just extreme racist that he was, president of the United States from 1912 to 1920, kept promoting democracy, but at the same time, hear this, this is a critical point. And we're talking about veterans, military service, and service to the African liberation struggle. Woodrow Wilson just hyping democracy. All over the world hyping democracy while opposing the 19th Amendment giving women the right to vote. When we talk about the African liberation struggle, one of the main contradictions on why Wilson and others opposed giving the women the right to vote, they could not figure out a way to give white women the right to vote, and the continual denying African American women and other women of color. We saw that they gave men the right to vote with the 15th Amendment, African American men, but we know that that was bold. That was trickeration, political trickeration, because it never happened. So the same thing that they did to African American men in the South, they continued to do. So women got the right to vote in 1920. But throughout the World War I, they kept talking democracy. America is the home of the democracy, land of the free, home of the brave, and life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But they told the women, y'all just go sit down. When we talk about the cyclic nature of history, we see that today. One of the biggest contradictions with the present administration in Washington, D.C. now is the fact that there are over 100 women in the House of Representatives. And that what drove women to victory was they did not get distracted and they pushed health care. So when we talk about veterans, one of the things we're going to talk to Jim about, and you can call in when we get to that segment if you like, if you're a veteran, is the struggle that is going on presently where these undercover forces. Nah, I don't know what to do with this. Probably scared. Hello? Somebody tripping on us. Yeah? Something wrong? Beg pardon? Thank you. Appreciate it. Always want to be good in the hood. One of these situations that's going on now is the fact that women, the power of women, so it's a cyclic nature. They couldn't vote 100 years later. It's an easy analysis. We say that the byproduct of a superior analysis is foresight. And the one point we can make is that women, a woman, is going to be the President of the United States in 2020. Now, as we were into this issue about the VA, there's a move underfoot. And this is why we talk about veteran two struggles. There is a move underfoot to privatize the VA. Because when you talk about health care, which is the issue that got the Democrats the House and going to give the Democrats the Senate and the White House in 2020, and one of the things that we hope that we do this time that we didn't do with Obama is we paint that White House at least rainbow. This whole thing about it's a White House, we're going to put a stop to that. We need to put a stop to that. We should at least, it should be the Rainbow House. It should be the people of color's house, the Rainbow House. So with this privatization of the VA, one reason why the money grubbers, the people that want to extract all the resources out of the federal government, the reason why they want to privatize the VA is because the VA is the largest living, functioning, working example of socialized medicine, of Medicare, Medicaid for all. It's a single payer system. So the people that are completely opposed to a single payer system want to privatize the VA because it's just sitting up there. That beautiful, beautiful structure down off of Mack Avenue between Mack and Warren. Anchor to the entire Detroit Medical Center. The VA, socialized medicine. And they're just people, they just can't stand it. They can't stand it because they can't get their hands on it. They can't turn it into private care. They can't rip it off. So we as veterans, that's going to be a major struggle. Because we know that Donald Trump, the present joke that they're running on Donald Trump right now is that when they asked him which one of his feet that he had the bone spurs that kept him from serving in the U.S. military, he couldn't even tell them. You don't even know. So we're dealing with this right now. And we're looking as we move along. You know, you have to excuse us because of visually handicapped. We have to take certain liberties. Henry's, what's the time check look like right now? Okay, bring it up. Let's see if it's the one we're looking for. Thank you. Caller.
Yeah.
Brother Paul.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for calling because we didn't get Mali Mu today, but we got you. So
he never called in.
Well, we don't know with our esteemed elder like that, he can do that to us, all right? 9 out of 10 times, if we look for him on 10 occasions and he bless us 1 out of 10, and we're happy. Just the fact that we thank you because you let us talk to him yesterday in pre-production. That's enough motivating for us because we know we talked to him yesterday.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, we thank you for that, all right?
He gave his life to our people.
So we'll get him next time. We talked to him, and didn't he sound good?
Yeah, he is good.
Oh man, what a mental capacity that elder has. So Paul, could you please take a couple minutes and give us an overview? We want to say this, and then we're gonna let you go because we thank you for calling in. Cause get a break, Paul.
Yes, sir.
The greatest Holy Day of Atonement program that we had. Hear this though, the greatest Holy Day of Atonement program we had was the one that you and Brother Cofield gave us on October 16, 2018. Could you please elaborate and give us an overview on just the program that we had on October 16th. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, well, thank you too, brother, and I really thank you for you being there and those persons that did come out. You know, we've celebrated the anniversary of the Minuteman March and certainly the anniversary of us coming together as a people year after year since we went to the Minuteman March in 1995. And we say, long live the spirit of the Minuteman March. And it was at that particular event that we created what we call the Minuteman Alumni Association. And in so doing, we celebrate our anniversary, the anniversary of the Holy Day of Atonement, also the anniversary of the Minuteman March, all on that same day every year. And we've been blessed to get those brothers and sisters
All right.
here in the surrounding community to come out and be supportive. And Brother Kofi and the Kiva Line Village is taking on the responsibility of having it at their event, at their facility, should I say. And as you said, it was probably the best one we've had in terms of the young people performing, the brothers and the sisters coming up and taking the pledge, the food that was served, the fellowship, the love that was in place. It was a historical occasion, and it was one of the biggest and one of the best ones we've had over the course of the last many, many years, 23 years to be exact. And so we were honored to have you there and those others who came out. And our goal is to celebrate every year
All
on
right.
that particular day. October 16th is the day that we celebrate.
Now, Paul, the reason why you use the word probably, but the reason why we said it was is because it's just like around here. When we see the fellowship use the word between R.J. Watkins and Henry Tyler, that's one of the reasons why Million Man Alumni, we always going to be here, because we love seeing the fellowship between the two brothers. What made that program the greatest is that you being a mentor, Elder Marvis Cofield being a mentee, that the way the two of y'all work together, that is what demonstrated and made it the greatest program. Because to see our brothers work together like the two of y'all work, that was the experience. That was the experience that made it the greatest. May I just add one more thing? I know people say, well, if you visually handicapped and you can't see, how can you say it was the greatest experience? Because 2 Corinthians 5:7 say we operate by faith and not by sight. So that's why it was, because to see the two of you brothers working together, that what if the day that you pulled him into the sub center, he had been going down Warren instead of Forest? What would our situation look like? That's why it was the greatest program, because of the ability that y'all gravitated together and you pulled him in, and look at where we are after you pulled him in after all them years.
Well, you're more than correct, and I didn't want to even pretend to say that you wasn't, because it was the greatest. We had the privilege and the pleasure to celebrate our culture and our history. So you're correct. It's the greatest one we've ever had. And we're glad to say that, because the truth is still the light. And so we were honored that you and others came, and the Kiva Line Village family, the Minuteman Alumni family. Oh, it was a great event, and I don't want it to be thought otherwise. It was a beautiful event. The young people performed. They did the martial arts. They did the African dance. I mean, it was a beautiful event. And the fellowship and the love and respect that was in place makes it, and I do hear you clearly, it was the most beautiful event we've ever had.
Okay, now we set up. Okay, we turned to each other, and now we got an atmosphere of agreement. Correct?
Without doubt.
Now here's the point, and this is to all the brothers and sisters and brothers listening. When we win, and we had a win, Yabo, October
That's
16th.
what it's about.
When we win, then under God's law, we have a right to do it again.
I mean, without question, we have a right to do it again. In fact, we have a responsibility to do it again.
Now,
we have to continue to do what we know
we're
we
coming
got to
together again on December 26th. Umoja Sasa, correct? Tell us about where we going. Tell us about when we do it again, because we have demonstrated that we win. Tell the people, as we're looking forward to Umoja Sasa, the first night of Kwanzaa, something that the Inner City Sub Center, Kiva Line Village, Million Man Alumni, and others, we're doing it on December 26th, and people have an opportunity to be with winners. None of this brokey broke. We're winners. And please elaborate and let them know that we're going to do it again because we already set up. We know we had the greatest program. Let's do it again. Tell us when we come together and we can do it again.
Oh, without question. That December 26th is the birthday of Kwanzaa, the day of unity, the day of harmony, the day of coming together,
Umoja
the day of us
Sasa.
being together, Umoja Sasa. And so we're honored that over the many, many years now, we have had a celebration of Kwanzaa, celebrated our unity. And so we're going to do that again this year on December 26th. Now, we are scheduled to have that event down at our Charles Wright Museum. It's where it's scheduled to be, and we expect that it will be. But we will be making it very clear to everyone where and when it's going to be over the course of the next several days. So we'll let people know in advance, far in advance, so they can put it on their schedule and make sure they come out in honor of unity, of us coming together as one, in honor of Kwanzaa, and all that entails. So we're honored to have it. We've been blessed to have it over the course of many years, and we're going to certainly have it this year.
All right, Paul. What we have done is something we do in Detroit very well because we got a big river down there. We didn't put the hook in their heart. They got the hook in their heart. Now let's reel them in. Brothers, sisters, Deuteronomy 16:16 says that men, and that we add women, men and women are to come into the tabernacle 3 times a year and not come empty-handed. Please, Paul, tell us why we need at least 10 people to meet us there Thursday, 7701 Harper at the Akiba Line Village and help donate a basket because we do have the Karamu Feast coming up. Now, we got the hook in them. 10 people out there. Take Elder Paul Taylor's number. Meet us Thursday. Donate a basket, buy a basket, donate a basket, participate in the food program. Because what's our opening line, bro? We got the hook in them. If we can't,
Well, if you can't feed the people, then you can't lead the people. We have to make every effort to feed our people, just not only in knowledge, which we certainly want to feed them in knowledge, but we also want to feed them and give them quality food.
All right.
So they can partake into their system, so they can continue to be who they are. And so we have our food co-op program, and that program has been going on for over 20 years. When we came back for the Myanmar March, we adopted this particular program.
Yes, sir.
And for 23 years now, every month, we've been having our food feed our community program, and we'll be doing it here in this month. On the 17th of November, it will be over at the Akiba Line Village. There is a donation requested and required for everyone who wants to get a basket.
Oh, you can say that. You can say the amount. You can say it on TV, bro. You can say it out on TV.
Mm-hmm.
You can lay the price out what they got to bring to donate that basket. You can lay it out. We're not on the radio. We on TV.
Out here. It's a $35 donation.
Tell it.
And it's a bushel basket of food for $35. You're gonna get the turkey. You're going to get the works you need to put the dressing together. You're going to get the fresh vegetables, the greens, the sweet potatoes, the onions, the things that you need for that dinner. You're going to get the fruit. You can get the apples, the oranges, the bananas. All that's going to be in it. Not to mention the bread, the eggs, the juice. All that's in the basket. And even the basket is a legitimate basket you can use in and around your house if you, in fact, need and want to do so. So it's far more than $35 worth.
Yes, sir.
But the notion, again, is that when we put our resources and finances together, we can all benefit. And the other beautiful part about it is that it also requires collective work. So we work together to buy it in both
Ujima Sasa. Ujima Sasa.
And so we come together, and we make sure that everybody gets an equal share. We call it the share program.
All right.
And everybody gets the same food, and we all get the same share under the same umbrella.
Hey, Paul, could you hold? I got to check with Henry. Henry, what? Can we get a time check? Okay, Paul, we got 2 minutes because we got a young man coming up. He's the mayor of Livernois. Brought to us by the mayor. He the mayor of Livernois. You still on Livernois, bro?
We so glad to hear you use the word young people, because we know we need some young people, and it's an honor that you got some there who is looked upon as the mayor of Livernois. because those we got to have some support from our young people, and so I'm glad to hear that.
Hey, Henry,
I
we got
want
to
to
dip
listen to
down
it.
in 1 minute. So, Paul, we just want to say you didn't get a number out. So, all you shot callers and big ballers, you always go on Thanksgiving and you don't feel that your family give you any respect. Come get this basket, take this basket, and when they eating that turkey and all of that, and they say that you bought it, then I guarantee you, won't they give respect, Paul, if they shot callers, big
Yes, they
ballers,
will.
and
And
they come in with
let
the
me give the
basket?
number. Let me give them the number they can call
We don't give
if
it out
they're
again.
interested. Please take the number. The number is 313-477-1146. Again, it's 313-477-1146. It's a $35 donation, and you get more than your money's worth. For this is a nonprofit effort. This is an idea of us putting our resources together so we can benefit each other.
Hey, brother Paul, could you call if you can, if you're not too busy? I know them Lions done disappointed you again. You had you
Well, you
had
know they did.
you had a rough 2 days. Them Spartans, man, I don't know what that man was doing. He gave 2 points away.
Yeah, that was unbelievable.
So, hey, would you, if you could you call Molly Moore and tell him we on the air, we live from 5 to 6. If you can catch him up, we try to get him on the other side because we coming live on the radio. Hey, Henry, please, my brother, can we dip down and come up with the mayor of Livernois? Paul, you got 30 seconds or whatever. You want to get a number again? Tell him come to the meeting
Yeah.
Thursday.
Well, I want to thank you is what I want to do. For my last 30 seconds, you and your lovely wife, I want to thank the both of you because you've made a commitment to do what you're doing for the benefit of our people. And no matter what the situation or circumstances is, you man of your word, and you keep your word, and you keep involvement. And I love you for it, and I will always love you for it. And thank you for it.
Nina Kupenda Sana. See you Thursday, bro. Keep it
All
on
right, my
village.
brother.
All right.
Thank you.
Whenever you can, bro Henry, you big shot caller. Thank you, brother. Thank you, HT. We appreciate it helping us here. Today is November 11th, Veterans Day. The mayor of Lafayette Towers, brother, we have much respect for. Brother Rob sent us a young man here. We got breaking news. He's no longer the mayor of Livernois. And we have Mr. Jim Foster. Bruh, I'm just going to sit over here for the next 9 minutes. You take it away. It's your show.
We want to give honor to the past, the present, and the future men and women who want to serve this great nation in our military armed forces. We're dependent on our citizens to protect our nation, our interests, not just here at home, but abroad. When the brother to my right spoke about Africa, and what's going on here with terrorism at our borders, the migrants coming in from Honduras, Colombia. They're looking for a better place to live, to raise their kids.
Hey, bro, we can hear you.
But to give thanks to my father, who's a veteran,
All right.
my brother, who's a veteran,
All right.
my sister, who's a veteran,
All right.
my niece is, my nephews, all my cousins are veterans. So today, we don't have to look up the calendar date for 11/11
All right.
because it's marketed as a day where we can go get a free meal, a free cup of coffee. Corporate America has marketed our 11/11. But a lot of veterans can't get out and get that free cup of coffee or that free donut. I give thanks to all my relatives, my neighbors who are veterans. Strength in numbers. When you have a veteran as a neighbor, you have someone who has sacrificed, has shown bravery. How important is that today?
All right.
He can protect your neighborhood. He's qualified. If your car should die, he's trained to find out why it didn't start because he's been trained by the military. A lot of our military work in restaurants. They have skills taught at military schools. These skills come back home and serve at Ford Field, at Comerica Park. So being a veteran has rewards. The Air Force, when they complete their tour of duty and they re-enlist, they find work at our airports. Airports need security. We have military police. A young person looking for retirement in 20, 30 years, the military is a career. Because you sacrifice, I sacrifice the past, the present, and the future.
Can we ask you one question? Hey, Henry, let us know how much time we got left. Hey, we heard the big fella out there, Brother RJ. Let us know. Jim, we just want to get a time check, okay? See how much time, because we want to make sure we need about 2 minutes at the end. Well, we got 2 more minutes. Jim, could you tell the people that your service that you were in what branch, how long you served, so people appreciate it? And we got 2 minutes left.
Thank you. It was 1981. I was at a fast food restaurant. I left the job and walked east on East 8 Mile. I came to a armory, the Light Guard Armory. I signed on the dotted line for 6 years. Never looked back. I completed 23 years of service. I received numerous awards for perfect attendance, staying mentally and physically sharp, and learned leadership and survival skills. I also learned numerous military occupational skills that I transferred when I retired to everyday life here in Detroit. So opportunity exists for all who want to sacrifice and be brave to commit a service in the military that your grandkids look at all your awards, and rewards that you can pass on to your children and grandchildren.
In 1 minute, we want to ask you this question. Do you have a position on privatization of the VA to take VA from a single-payer system where all veterans are serviced, and that then it just breaks up the VA and then put them in the private sector? You take a position on the privatization of the VA?
Share the wealth. Share the wealth with the veterans who are in need. They have sacrificed more. That's my position.
Okay, I think we have about 2 minutes. Henry, bump us up in the end. Thank you, brother Jim Foster. Now, when we say you were the mayor of Livernois, you were on Livernois for a number of years in the 70s and the 80s, weren't you?
I was.
Okay, we just want you were actively involved. That's why we say the mayor of Livernois, and we want to thank again. Who we want to thank for bringing us together today?
That would be the mayor, Bob Hubbard.
Thank you, bro. Again, we want to give out the number to Elder Paul Taylor because we was moving kind of fast. We want to give his number. His number is 477-1146. That's for the SHARE program. We're looking for 10 individuals to pick up a SHARE program. Also, if you want to hear some more where we're coming from, we're live on WHPR 88.1 FM in 1 hour. Our regular show that we've been doing for over 5 years on Sunday. Again, we want to thank certain people. Henry Tyler, our vice president, program director. He's a veteran. He served. We want to thank him for his service. We want to thank our brother Tim for his service. Michael Obey, Bro Pianki, Bro Answa, so many of our brothers and our sisters for their service. So again, Elder Paul Taylor's number is 477-1146. We're the Million Man alumni. We will be meeting Thursday, November 15th. And if you want some more of this, you can join us. We will be live on the radio in 1 hour. We also are looking forward to the 23rd anniversary of the transition of November 20th, Jokin' We Ain't. The transition of Miss Artist Maddox, Miss Candy, of Candy Production. And we like to close. Thank Brother Jim again. Thank you, bro.
Thank you.
One God, one aim, one destiny. James 4:7. Submit to God, resist the devil. He will flee. One God, one aim, one destiny.